So now that we know, at least in the beginning, where like things can be found, you're not going to know where everything is found. But now that we have a beginning understanding of how to work this, let's go ahead and let's drag a label over here. So we'll click on label. A label is just what it sounds like. It's a label that shows up on the screen. Okay, not to be confused with a text box, which we'll talk about later, but this is a label. All right, so I've dragged the label to the screen and you see it pops up here in the components. If I ever dragged something in there I didn't want, like let's say I drag another label over there, see how a second label pops up? I can always just go down here and highlight the one I want to delete. Let's highlight label 2 and I just say delete. And it'll ask me if I want to delete it and I'll say yeah. All right, so I have one label over here. And it's important to rename your components, something that's very descriptive. So that way, as you add a ton of different components in here, that you don't lose track of them. So what you would do is you notice that you can't rename screen 1. That's sort of like that's always going to be the first screen that loads. That's your title screen. But if I click here and if I click on label 1, let's rename it to, I'm just going to say, let's type up here, I'll just call it first name. And notice that when I name the component, 1, I don't add spaces. 2, I use this thing called camel case, right? Where the first letter of each word is capitalized, but the rest are lowercase. The reason why they call it this is because if you have like a hump on a camel, it goes lowercase, lowercase, and then a hump, right? They call it camel case. So the first letter of every word is capitalized. So let's just say I need a first name, and I'm going to put my first name in there, which is Josh. So we'll find out how to do that here in a second. In order to change anything about this label, or to change anything about screen 1, you're going to change anything in its properties, right? If I bought a new car and it was red, right, that's a property of the car. If the car has leather seats, that's a property. If it has 4 doors, that's a property of the car, right? So these are all things I can change about the car, or in this case, the component if I want to. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So the label, it says, well, there's no background color to the label. Let's change that. Let's put background color of yellow. Perfect. Right? And I can change my font to bold if I want. I'll leave it bold. You can just click on there. Italic if you want to make it italic. I don't want to put italic, but change the font size. Let's change it from 14. Let's change it to 20. Okay. And you can choose different fonts, right? So there's sans serif, there's serif. I'm going to use monospace, okay? And you don't really have to worry about HTML format or has margins. We'll skip over that. The height is just going to be how tall you want the label to be, and that's set to automatic, but you can click on the fill parent option, and the fill parent will fill up the screen as tall as the screen is. So you know how some devices are bigger than others? It will automatically fill the device's screen if I said fill parent here. So watch, if I click this OK, it fills as tall as the device is. If the device went all the way down to here, it would fill all that up as well. You can set to number of pixels or the percent of the screen. If I say like I want 50% of the screen, it goes 50%. I'm just going to leave it at automatic. All right, then you got the width, show how wide it goes. Text for the label. I'll go through and edit these in a second in the next example.